Hello, I'm Gary, and this is Physical Format Rock and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get started, please always hit like on these videos, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It just helps my channel grow so I can put out more videos like this. So today we are talking about a legendary band, one of my personal favorite bands of all time. And of course I'm talking about Canada's greatest export, and that would be Rush. The names themselves are legendary. Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart. Of course, they also had John Rutsey on the first album, and we can't forget him. Important contribution to the band. His brother even came up with the name of the band. But what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about what I consider to be the top 5 Rush studio albums. I'm not including any of the live albums, any compilations, anything like that. This is just the top 5 studio records. So, we'll go from 5 to number 1 naturally. And we're going to start out with the number 5 pick, which unfortunately I don't have the single album of it, but I'm talking about from 1974, their debut album, and that would be the self-titled album, Rush. Now I have the first 3 on this Rush Archives set here that I got a long time ago. So all I can kind of show you is that. You all know what that cover looks like for the very first Rush record. Now, I realize some of you might be against having this record in your top 5 studio albums by Rush because Neil Peart does not appear on this album. It's John Rutsey. I can't help it. This album will always hold a dear spot to me. It is how Rush got their start. You can see them start to, there's certain parts of this album that show what Rush is going to sound like in the future. And this album is just a kick-ass hard rock album. Alex Lifeson burns through this album, man. Geddy Lee is scorching on his vocals. This is just, it just hits you in the face. Yeah, it's very simplistic compared to what we would find with Rush later down the road. But you just can't deny the pure joy and the rock in this album. Starts off with Finding My Way. I mean, come on. What a great Rush record. It's got Finding My Way, What You're Doing, In the Mood. Here Again, which is like a longer song, one of their first really long songs, and it's on their very first album. What is also important on this album is the song that got Rush noticed, and that's Working Man. Rush kept that song in their set forever. Okay, they always had that. Working Man got them noticed. They were signed on Moon Records originally, and a DJ from Cleveland's own WMMS helped break them because she, the DJ played that record a lot, gave it a lot of airplay, a lot of notice, and a lot of people started noticing it across the Midwest. And also the executives at Mercury Records noticed it. And so Rush got signed to Mercury Records. So coming in at number 5, the blistering debut album, Rush. Working Man got him famous. You can't deny it. You can't deny that song. You can't deny the album. Some of you are saying, where's your beer? You don't know what's in this cup. Coming in at number 4, an album that I absolutely love. You might guess that by my appearance. From 1975, Rush, Caress of Steel. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Rush getting into the whole progressive rock scene, the progressive hard rock scene, okay? It's been said that Rush smoked a lot of pot in the studio when they recorded this album. So If you're ever curious on what kind of lyrics Neil Peart might write when he's high, you might want to check out Caress of Steel. But here we have Rush. It starts out with Bastille Day. All right, what kind of band has a song, this kick-ass song that's about the beginning of the French Revolution, kind of tying it into anti-big government tyrants, everything else. Great opening track. But what gets everybody going on here is on side one, they have Necromancer, which is a 3-part song. Okay, this is something Rush would start doing. And then side two is called The Fountain of Lamneth. Sorry, hard to pronounce. That has 6 parts in it. Okay? See that? Look at that. 6 parts. And this is just fantastic stuff, man. I mean, it is off the wall. Parts of it are really heavy. Then it goes into light, soft type parts. There's acoustic guitars mixed in. Just the drums are heavy on this. The bass is very much in your face a lot. This is a big start. If it wasn't for this album, Rush wouldn't become the band that we all love and make all those fantastic albums. But to me, this is one of them, okay? Coming in at number 4 from 1975, Caress of Steel. Also has Lakeside Park on this album, and I love that song. Coming in at number 3, released at the very beginning of 1980 in January. This would be their 7th studio album, and I am talking about Permanent Waves. Now, this was a big stylistic change for Rush. Okay, they were coming off of Hemispheres, another big concept album, right? This one's not a concept album. What it is more compact songs, And even though they're more compact, some of them more radio friendly, like the song Spirit of the Radio or Free Will, it still has the rock edge to it, right? The early Rush had that heavier rock edge to it. Even though this is Rush evolving, it still has songs like Jacob's Ladder and Natural Science on here. This is just an amazing record. It's amazing musically, it's amazing lyrically. You just really can't say anything bad about this album. It's just fantastic. It's a 5-star Rush album from 1980, Permanent Waves. We're getting there. Coming in at number 2. Our first stop is in Bogota to inspect Colombian fields. You know what I'm talking about. We're taking a passage to Bangkok off of 2112. Yes! This is Rush's 4th studio album, and this album was a big gamble for the band, right? They had just done Caress of Steel, and the record company said, man, can't you shorten your songs any? Make some nice short 3.5-minute poppy songs for the radio so we can sell some damn records. Rush, much like Kiss early on, was having a hard time selling some of their records. They were getting a big name out on the road because they're an amazing live band, but they weren't selling as many records. So, what did Rush do? Did they say, well, we're going to go make some poppy songs, some shorter songs? No. They go out and make 2112, which of course we all know 2112. A giant concept song on the whole entire first side of this record. But what they didn't realize, Mercury Records, is that this would catch on because this album is fantastic. This is an amazing, amazing record. I imagine everybody who's listening to me right now owns this record. If you don't, what is your problem? Go out and buy it. Rush, 2112, one of the hardest rocking concept albums ever. This is just a tour de force of the band. It's everything you would want from Rush. It's definitely a middle finger to the record labels saying, you know, we're going to do what we want to do. And after the success of this album, they basically did get to do whatever they wanted to do. There's a line at the end of the whole 2112 saga there where they say, "Attention, all planets of the Solar Federation. We have assumed control. We have assumed control." I think that was a message to every other prog rock band out in the world. We just kicked your ass. We have assumed control. Number 2, Rush, 2112. I bet a lot of you right now think you know what I'm going to name as the number 1 Rush album. But I'm not. Okay? To me, the number 1 Rush album is from 1977, A Farewell to Kings, baby. Perfect. Perfect album right here. This album is fantastic. I remember hearing this album as a kid. This is the first exposure I ever had to Rush. Okay, I had a friend who had this album, and I was starting to hear some of that. Didn't buy it right away because, you know, when you're just a kid that young, we're talking like 6th grade or whatever, you don't have a whole lot of money where you can just go out and buy every record. Took me a little bit, and then I picked up this when it came out. Loved it. I fell in love with this record, everything about it. Every verse in here, every song, every note is just amazing. Neil Peart is just legendary. I remember listening to this record over and over with headphones and just thinking, you know, because at this time I'm a big Kiss fan and Aerosmith and whatever, and hearing this, thinking of the musicianship that goes on this record, from the whole light stuff to the heavy stuff, you know, dark, light. It's just crazy good. It's just amazing how good of a job that the band did in record. It sounds fantastic. You know, they play, it's like they could do anything they wanted to. The keyboards, the synthesizers that are used in here to great effect are perfect. And that's what they did. They weren't running the songs, they were adding to it. This, you know, this is still a guitar-heavy band right here, man. Rush was not a synth band in any sense of the word at this point. They just used them to add color to their songs. And vocally, man, you know, Geddy Lee just nails it all over the place on this, and his bass playing is fantastic. And Alex Lifeson, my God, I mean, it's just fantastic. This record is just a perfect record, okay? Rush, Farewell to Kings. I know some of you out there are thinking, how in the world can this idiot not have Moving Pictures in his top 5 studio albums? Because I don't. I'm not saying I don't love it, because I do. I love all kinds of Rush records, okay? These are just the ones I think are the best. You have to remember, by the time that Moving Pictures came out, I think I don't know, maybe a sophomore or something in high school, that would have been like their 8th studio album. I was already a big Rush fan, okay? I know a lot of people, they discovered, you know, Moving Pictures is their first Rush record. That's their first exposure to it. So they have that in them. They think, this is Rush's best record. But I mean, to me, not that it's not a great record, not that I don't love it, but it doesn't, you know, move me quite as much. For one thing, it's been overplayed, right? I've heard so many of those songs so many times that it's probably you know, kind of got out of my system a little bit. Not that they're not fantastic songs, but it's also got a couple songs on there that I'm kind of like, they don't move me that much. I mean, even at the time, as much as I loved it when it came out, I remember thinking, even as a teenager, you know, I don't know. This seems like a little bit of a step down from Permanent Waves. I still feel that way. And I love Hemispheres. I love Fly By Night. I love, you know, all the different phases of Rush. I'm not too crazy about, you know, once they got past Signals there, you know, they steadily started to go downhill for a while. But they came back, you know, they came back there later in the 90s. They started rocking more. And I think they ended on a big bang. You know, their last few studio albums I really enjoyed. I liked quite a bit. So these are just my reasons. I like, you know, hey, I love the heavy rock Rush. Okay, I love all the big epic songs that they did and still kicked ass the entire time while they did it. So that's my explanation. Those are my 5 favorite studio Rush records. Love to hear what your 5 top ones would be. Rush albums you love, how you discovered Rush. Maybe you hate Rush. I know a lot of people hate Rush. That's fine. Whatever comments you'd like to make, I would love to read them. I'm Gary. This is Physical Format Rock and Roll. I am on Twitter and Facebook. You can always catch me there. And I'm always on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next time, I will see you down the road.